Commander Zara Velthara stood on the bridge of her flagship and watched the stars bend around them as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Her pointed ears twitched slightly as the navigation officer called out their position. They had arrived at the edge of what the primitive species called the Sol System. After 400 years of commanding fleets across the galaxy, Zara had seen this moment countless times before. Another world, another conquest, another species that would learn to bow before the might of the Galactic Coalition. The view screen showed a yellow star burning in the distance with several planets orbiting around it. The third planet from the star glowed blue and green, covered in oceans and clouds. This was where the humans lived. Zara had studied the reports during their long journey here. The species called themselves humans, and they seemed to be exactly what the Coalition expected from young civilizations. They fought among themselves constantly, used primitive weapons that threw metal projectiles, and had barely begun to explore their own solar system. Captain Luna Brightwood moved to stand beside her commander. Luna was young for an elf, only 150 years old, but she had proven herself in 3 previous campaigns. Her silver hair was pulled back in the traditional military style, and her blue eyes studied the tactical displays with interest. She had read the same reports as Zara and shared her commander's confidence about this mission. "The preliminary scans show exactly what our intelligence predicted," Luna said quietly. "Their largest ships are barely 300 meters long, and they appear to be using chemical rockets for propulsion. Our smallest patrol vessels are more advanced than their flagships." Zara nodded and activated the communication system that connected her to the other ships in the fleet. Across the emptiness of space, 200 Coalition vessels had emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Half of them belonged to her own people, sleek elven ships with curved hulls that seemed to flow like water. The rest belonged to their allies in the Coalition. Admiral Kesra Thival commanded the reptilian ships that looked like massive predators swimming through space. Dr. Maya Quintel operated from one of the insectoid vessels that bristled with sensor, arrays, and research equipment. "All ships report ready for standard pacification protocols," came the voice of Admiral Kesra through the communication system. The reptilian commander had overseen dozens of successful invasions, and her voice carried the confidence of someone who had never faced a real challenge. "Dr. Quintel confirms that the target species shows no signs of advanced technology beyond basic nuclear fission." Zara smiled at that news. Nuclear fission was something most species discovered early in their development, but it was nothing compared to the antimatter reactors that powered Coalition ships. The humans were at least 10,000 years behind Coalition technology levels. This would be over quickly. Dr. Maya Quintel had spent months studying the radio signals that leaked from the human homeworld. The insectoid scientist was one of the Coalition's best xenobiologists, and her reports painted a picture of a species that was both primitive and self-destructive. The humans spent most of their energy fighting each other over resources and territory. They had hundreds of different languages and cultures that seemed to hate each other more than they feared outside threats. "Begin approach to the 4th planet," Admiral Kesra ordered. "We will establish our forward base there and demand surrender from the human government. If they refuse, we will demonstrate our superior firepower on one of their smaller settlements." This was how Coalition invasions always worked. They would arrive with overwhelming force, demand immediate surrender, and then occupy the planet with minimal resistance. Most species took one look at Coalition technology and gave up without a fight. The few that tried to resist were quickly crushed by weapons they could not understand or defend against. Zara watched as her fleet began moving deeper into the system. The ships maintained perfect formation as they accelerated toward the red planet that humans called Mars. Their sensors showed no sign of resistance or even acknowledgement of their presence. The human ships they detected were all in orbit around their homeworld, or traveling between their inner planets on slow, predictable courses. "Commander," Luna said, checking her instruments, "we are receiving some kind of transmission from the human vessels." Zara raised an eyebrow. Most species either tried to flee when they saw a Coalition fleet or immediately opened communication channels to beg for mercy. "Put it on the main screen." The transmission that appeared was not what anyone expected. Instead of a frightened human leader asking for terms, the screen filled with mathematical equations and star charts. The data showed the position and heading of every ship in the Coalition fleet along with detailed measurements of their energy signatures and estimated weapons capabilities. Luna frowned at the display. This appears to be tactical information about our own forces. How could they have gathered this data so quickly? Before Zara could answer, more transmissions began arriving from different human vessels. Each one contained more precise information about Coalition ship designs, weapon systems, and strategic positions. The humans were not panicking or trying to surrender. They were studying the invasion fleet and sharing what they learned with each other. Dr. Maya Quintel's voice came through the communication system with a note of confusion. Commander Velthara, these transmissions suggest a level of coordination that does not match our intelligence reports. The humans appear to be treating our arrival as a tactical problem to be solved rather than a disaster to be survived. Admiral Kesra's reply carried irritation. Impossible. Our scouts observed this species for months before we arrived. They are divided into competing nation-states that can barely cooperate on simple trade agreements. They cannot suddenly develop unified command structures. But the evidence continued to arrive through their communication systems. Human vessels throughout the solar system were sharing detailed analysis of Coalition technology and developing response strategies in real time. What had seemed like a scattered and primitive species was revealing signs of hidden coordination and surprising technical capability. Zara felt the first small doubt creep into her mind as she watched the tactical displays update. In 400 years of conquest, she had never seen a target species respond to invasion with such calm analysis. The humans were not acting like prey animals faced with superior predators. They were acting like predators themselves, sizing up potential threats and planning their response. Luna looked up from her instruments with concern. Commander, we are detecting some kind of energy buildup from several human installations. It does not match any known technology in our databases. The invasion of humanity was beginning exactly as planned, but something felt wrong to Zara. The humans were not behaving like any species the Coalition had ever encountered before. Instead of fear, they showed curiosity. Instead of chaos, they demonstrated coordination. Instead of begging for mercy, they were apparently preparing for war. As the Coalition fleet continued its approach toward Mars, Zara began to wonder if their intelligence about humanity might have been incomplete. The species that had seemed so primitive and divided was revealing hidden depths that no one had expected. For the first time in centuries, Commander Zara Velthara found herself questioning whether this invasion would be as simple as all the others. The mathematical equations from the humans continued to flow across her screens, each one more sophisticated than the last. Whatever humanity really was, they were about to find out. Lieutenant Amy Stone sat at her communication station aboard the human destroyer Wellington and watched the alien fleet approach through the outer solar system. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panels as she coordinated with communication. Officers on dozens of other human vessels. The aliens had no idea that humanity had been tracking their approach since they first appeared beyond Pluto's orbit 3 days ago. The response Earth was sending to the alien demands was not surrender or panic. Amy was broadcasting detailed tactical analysis to every human ship and station throughout the solar system. The aliens used energy shields that rotated through specific frequencies. Their weapons charged with distinctive power signatures. Their ships moved in formations that suggested specific tactical doctrines. All of this information was being shared and analyzed by human military networks in real time. Captain Kate Rodriguez stood behind Amy's station and studied the incoming data from other ships. Kate commanded one of Earth's newest destroyers, a vessel that looked primitive compared to the elegant alien ships, but carried weapons that no alien database had ever cataloged. The Wellington was equipped with experimental railguns that could accelerate projectiles to 10% of light speed and adaptive artificial intelligence systems that learned enemy tactics during combat. Status report on fleet positions, Kate ordered quietly. All stealth ships are in position around Mars and the asteroid belt, Amy replied. The Phantom Squadron is hiding in Jupiter's radiation shadow. Admiral Harper's main fleet is stationed behind Luna, using the moon's mass to mask their energy signatures. Scout leader Iris Moonwhisper watched human ship movements from her position, aboard an elven reconnaissance vessel, and felt growing unease. The human ships were not scattered randomly, as her intelligence reports had suggested. They were positioned with the precision of a species that had been planning for this moment for years. Worse, many of the human vessels that should have been visible to Coalition sensors, had simply vanished from their tracking systems. Commander Velthara, Iris reported through her communication system, the human fleet movements do not match expected patterns for a primitive civilization. They appear to be using some form of stealth technology that our sensors cannot penetrate. Commander Zara Velthara received this report with growing concern. Coalition technology was supposed to be 10,000 years ahead of anything humanity possessed. The idea that humans could hide their ships from Coalition sensors was impossible according to every scientific model they used. The Coalition fleet reached Mars orbit and began their standard intimidation display. Ships arranged themselves in attack formations while charging their main weapons. Energy shields came online and created shimmering barriers around each vessel. Admiral Kesra transmitted the official surrender demand in several human languages, expecting immediate compliance. Instead of surrender, the human response came in the form of action. Tactical Officer Nina Cross coordinated the first human counterattack from her position aboard the command ship Liberty. Nina had spent 5 years studying alien technologies captured from previous first contact attempts that most humans did not know about. This was not humanity's first encounter with hostile alien species, just the largest one. Human ships began emerging from positions that should have been empty space. They had been hiding in asteroid fields, using planets' magnetic fields to mask their presence and employing stealth technology that bent electromagnetic radiation around their hulls. What had appeared to be a scattered and unprepared human fleet suddenly revealed itself as a carefully prepared ambush. The first human attack came from Captain Beth Williams and her crew aboard the submarine ship Depth Charge. Beth had adapted naval submarine tactics for space warfare, allowing her ship to function as a ghost that appeared on alien sensors as nothing more than space debris. The Depth Charge had been shadowing the alien fleet for 2 days, moving close enough to identify weak points in their shield systems. Beth's ship fired the first shots of the war using weapons that Coalition science said could not exist. Human railguns launched projectiles that carried no energy signature until the moment of impact. Coalition shields were designed to deflect energy weapons and slow-moving objects, but they could not stop solid projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. The first Elven ship to die had its shields punctured like paper and its hull torn open by a tungsten rod moving at 30,000 kilometers per second. The projectile passed completely through the ship and continued into space, leaving a perfectly straight hole that vented atmosphere and crew into the vacuum. Captain Luna Brightwood watched this happen from the bridge of her ship and felt her confidence shatter. Coalition shields had never failed so completely against any weapon. The human projectile had passed through multiple layers of protective energy as if they did not exist. How is this possible? Luna whispered to herself as more human ships opened. Fire engineer Casey Miller had designed the human weapons specifically to counter energy-based defenses after studying captured alien technology. Casey understood that any species advanced enough for interstellar travel would have developed energy shields, so she created weapons that used pure kinetic force instead of energy beams or explosive warheads. The second wave of human attacks came from missiles that demonstrated artificial intelligence more sophisticated than anything in Coalition databases. These weapons dodged point defense systems by changing course randomly, split into multiple warheads when targeted, and seemed to anticipate alien defensive responses before they happened. Dr. Maya Quintel watched the battle unfold from her research vessel and realized that every assumption about human technology had been wrong. The species she had studied was not primitive or divided. They had been deliberately broadcasting false information about their capabilities while secretly developing weapons designed specifically to fight more advanced civilizations. Admiral Lisa Harper revealed the true scope of human preparations when she brought the main fleet out from behind Luna. The human admiral commanded over 300 ships that had been completely invisible to Coalition sensors. Each vessel carried weapons that no alien database recognized and moved with coordination that suggested a single artificial intelligence controlling the entire fleet. The Coalition had expected to face a primitive species using chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that had weaponized asteroids, deployed kinetic bombardment platforms throughout the solar system, and created artificial intelligence networks that turned every human ship into part of a single, thinking organism. Scout leader Iris tried to understand what was happening as human tactics proved brutally effective. The humans did not fight with honor or traditional formations. They used fake surrender signals to lure coalition ships into ambush positions. Human vessels sacrificed themselves in kamikaze attacks that destroyed ships 10 times their size. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to be enjoying the challenge of fighting a more advanced enemy. Captain Kate Rodriguez coordinated her destroyers, attack run against an alien heavy cruiser, and felt the satisfaction of a successful hunt. Her railguns fired in sequence, each shot precisely timed to hit the enemy ship as its shields rotated through their weakest frequency. The alien vessel tried to maneuver away from the attack, but human artificial intelligence had already calculated its possible escape routes and positioned other ships to block them. The battle lasted 6 hours and ended with the coalition fleet retreating toward the outer solar system. They had lost 30 ships to humanity's 8, and every surviving alien vessel carried damage that would take weeks to repair. What should have been a simple demonstration of superior firepower had become a devastating defeat for the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Commander Zara Velthara ordered the retreat while trying to understand what had gone wrong. Her 400 years of experience had not prepared her for an enemy that fought with such cold precision and tactical innovation. The humans had not simply defended their world, they had hunted coalition ships like predators stalking prey through a forest. As the alien fleet limped away from Earth, Lieutenant Amy Stone continued broadcasting tactical data to human forces throughout the solar system. The first battle was over, but Amy knew this war was just beginning. The aliens would return with reinforcements and better preparations, but humanity would be ready for them. The species that had seemed primitive and divided had revealed their true nature in combat, and it was something no alien civilization had ever encountered before. Dr. Maya Quintel frantically reviewed her research data as the coalition fleet orbited Jupiter and tried to understand what had gone wrong. Her compound eyes moved rapidly across multiple screens displaying human behavioral analysis, technological assessments, and combat footage from their devastating defeat. Every conclusion she had reached about human civilization was proving to be completely incorrect. The insectoid scientist had spent months studying radio transmissions from Earth before the invasion began. Human broadcasts showed constant warfare between different nations, primitive weapons systems, and social divisions that should have made unified resistance impossible. But the species that had fought them near Mars bore no resemblance to the chaotic and backward civilization her research had described. Commander Beth Williams guided her submarine ship depth charge through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, tracking the alien fleet with sensors that remained undetected by coalition technology. Beth had served 20 years in Earth's ocean navies before transferring to the Space Force, and she understood that the most effective predators were the ones their prey never saw coming. Her ship was designed to function like a submarine in space, appearing on enemy sensors as nothing more than metallic debris while carrying enough firepower to destroy vessels 50 times larger. The depth charge had been shadowing the coalition fleet for days, gathering detailed intelligence about their repair procedures, communication protocols, and defensive weaknesses. The coalition had attempted a second assault on Earth with their full remaining force, but Admiral Lisa Harper had been prepared for their return. The human admiral had revealed defensive systems that went far beyond anything visible during the first battle. Humanity had weaponized asteroids throughout the solar system, created kinetic bombardment platforms that could strike targets anywhere, in Earth's orbit, and developed artificial intelligence networks that linked every human vessel into a single tactical organism. Captain Luna Brightwood stood on the bridge of her elven ship and watched repair crews struggle to fix damage from the latest human attack. The elegant curved hull that had seemed so beautiful and advanced was now scarred with perfectly straight holes where human projectiles had punched through both shields and armor as if they were made of tissue paper. Luna had begun to question everything she thought she knew about warfare after watching human tactics in action. The humans did not fight with the honor and formal strategies that every civilized species used. They employed ambush tactics that seemed designed by predators who had spent millions of years hunting prey through hostile environments. Their weapons were crude but terrifyingly effective, and their willingness to sacrifice individual ships for tactical advantage was something no coalition commander could understand. Engineer Casey Miller's weapon designs had proven their effectiveness, beyond her wildest expectations. Casey had spent 5 years developing countermeasures for energy-based defense systems after Earth's first secret contact with alien technology. Her railguns used pure kinetic force that could not be deflected by energy shields, and her adaptive missiles demonstrated artificial intelligence that learned enemy defensive patterns in real time. The human weapons were not advanced in the same way as coalition technology, but they were specifically engineered to exploit the weaknesses of more sophisticated systems. Energy shields could stop particle beams and explosive warheads, but they offered no protection against solid projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. Point defense systems could target known missile designs, but they failed against weapons that changed their attack patterns randomly during flight. Dr. Maya made a discovery that filled her with growing dread as she analyzed battlefield recordings. The humans had not simply developed effective weapons during their brief contact with coalition forces. They had been preparing for interstellar warfare for decades, possibly centuries, based on captured alien technology from previous encounters that officially never happened. Admiral Kesra Thival attempted to restore order to the coalition fleet while dealing with the impossible reality of their situation. Her reptilian species had conquered dozens of worlds using standard tactics and overwhelming technological superiority. The idea that a primitive civilization could defeat coalition forces was contrary to every military doctrine and scientific principle that guided their empire. The Admiral's attempts to call for reinforcements had met with an even more disturbing discovery. Human ships had somehow reached coalition communication relays first and were intercepting every message sent toward their home systems. Worse, when coalition operators tried to send emergency signals, human voices responded with mathematical proofs demonstrating they had broken every encryption system the aliens used. Specialist Megan Clark had infiltrated coalition computer networks during the first day of battle and been gathering intelligence about alien technology, tactics, and strategic plans ever since. Megan was part of Earth's Cyber Warfare Division, a military branch that most humans did not know existed and that prepared for exactly this type of conflict. Her infiltration of alien systems revealed that the coalition empire was built on assumptions about primitive species that no longer applied to humanity. Every tactic they planned to use, every weapons system they intended to deploy, and every strategic advantage they thought they possessed had been anticipated and countered by human preparations. The coalition retreat turned into a running battle as human ships pursued them toward the edge of the solar system. Pilot Rachel Green led fighter squadrons that seemed to appear from empty space, using stealth technology that remained invisible to alien sensors until the moment of attack. Rachel's pilots fought with the precision of predators who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Captain Luna watched more coalition ships fall behind and get destroyed as human vessels revealed they could match alien speed and had better endurance for extended combat. The aliens began to understand that humans viewed this conflict not as a war between civilizations, but as a hunt where they were the prey being pursued by natural predators. Dr. Maya made her most terrifying discovery when she analyzed human evolutionary history using data recovered from their own broadcasts. Humanity had not evolved as prey animals like most sapient species in the galaxy. They were pursuit predators, persistence hunters who never stopped chasing their quarry until it collapsed from exhaustion. Worse, their planet's incredible biodiversity suggested they had been competing against thousands of other deadly species for millions of years. The coalition had assumed that intelligence and civilization developed when prey species became smart enough to escape natural predators. But humanity represented something unprecedented in galactic history. A species that had developed civilization, not despite being dangerous, but because they were the most dangerous thing on their world. Commander Zara Velthara received reports that human ships were somehow reaching coalition vessels that should have been beyond their technological capability to catch. The humans were not simply defending their territory, they were expanding it, claiming space around their solar system and establishing forward positions that threatened coalition supply lines. As more alien ships fell to human attacks, the survivors began transmitting increasingly desperate requests for evacuation and reinforcement. But every message was being intercepted by human intelligence networks that seemed to anticipate coalition communications before they were sent. The revelation that shattered what remained of coalition confidence came when Dr. Maya discovered Evidence that humanity had been deliberately broadcasting misleading information about their capabilities while secretly developing advanced military technology for decades. The species that appeared primitive and divided had been running a deception operation that fooled the most sophisticated intelligence-gathering methods in the galaxy. Admiral Kesra realized that the Coalition was not fighting a young civilization that had recently discovered space travel. They were fighting a species that had been preparing for interstellar warfare longer than most alien civilizations had existed, and that understood the art of war in ways that no other sentient species had ever imagined. The human pursuit continued, relentlessly, as Coalition ships limped toward the edge of the solar system, carrying word of a discovery that would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about the nature of intelligence, civilization, and the relationship between predator and prey among the stars. Admiral Kesra. Thival watched her fleet's desperate retreat toward the edge of human space and tried to understand how everything had gone so wrong. Her reptilian features showed the strain of commanding a military disaster that contradicted every principle of coalition warfare. The species that should have surrendered within hours had instead turned their invasion into a nightmare that seemed to get worse with each passing day. Only 40 ships remained from the 200-vessel fleet that had entered the Sol system. With such confidence, the rest had been destroyed or disabled by human weapons that no coalition database contained and tactics that violated every civilized rule of warfare. The survivors were damaged, running low on supplies, and being hunted by human forces that never seemed to tire or give up the chase. Commander Zara Velthara studied the tactical displays from her flagship and felt 400 years of military experience crumble into meaningless theory. Her pointed ears drooped with exhaustion as she tried to process combat reports that made no sense according to everything she thought she knew about space warfare. The humans were not fighting like any species the Coalition had ever encountered. Pilot Rachel Green led her fighter squadron through another attack run against the fleeing alien ships and felt the satisfaction of a successful hunt. Rachel had grown up in Earth's pilot training programs that secretly prepared human aviators for exactly this type of conflict. Her fighters used weapons and tactics developed specifically to counter advanced alien technology, and they were proving devastatingly effective. The human fighters appeared on Coalition sensors as small civilian craft until the moment they opened. Fire with weapons that punched through alien armor like it was made of cardboard. Rachel's pilots had trained against simulated alien ships for years, learning to exploit the weaknesses of energy-based defense systems and formal military tactics. Specialist Megan Clark continued her infiltration of Coalition computer networks from her position aboard a human stealth ship that remained invisible to alien sensors. Megan had discovered that the Coalition military relied heavily on artificial intelligence systems that followed predictable patterns and used encryption methods that human computers could break in real time. Her infiltration had given human forces complete access to Coalition battle plans, supply schedules, and communication protocols. Every move the aliens planned to make was known to human commanders before the orders were even transmitted to Coalition ships. Megan realized that the aliens had never fought an enemy capable of cyber warfare on this level. Dr. Maya Quintel made discoveries about human nature that filled her with growing terror as she analyzed more data from the ongoing battle. The insectoid. Scientists had studied hundreds of species across the galaxy, but humanity represented something unprecedented in the known universe. They were not just intelligent predators. They were predators that had learned to think strategically about the hunt itself. Most sapient species developed intelligence as a survival mechanism when they became prey animals trying to escape natural predators. But humans had evolved intelligence while remaining apex predators on their world, which meant they thought about problems in fundamentally different ways. They did not seek safety and cooperation like other civilized species. They sought advantage and dominance like the hunters they had always been. The Coalition retreat became increasingly chaotic as human ships demonstrated capabilities that should have been impossible for their technology level. Admiral Eve Morrison led the human pursuit with ships that could somehow match Coalition speed and had better endurance for extended combat operations. The human admiral seemed to understand exactly how to pressure the alien fleet while preventing them from regrouping or making a coordinated defense. Captain Luna Brightwood recorded the Coalition's final desperate attempts to call for reinforcement and felt her faith in Elven superiority shatter completely. Luna had believed that her peoples, advanced technology and thousands of years of experience made them the natural rulers of the galaxy. But the humans had proven that age and sophistication meant nothing against an enemy that understood warfare in ways no civilized species could imagine. Communications Officer Tara Bell intercepted every coalition message and responded with increasingly sophisticated demonstrations of human capabilities. Tara's responses included detailed technical specifications for coalition ships, personal information about alien crew members, and strategic analysis that showed humans understood coalition military doctrine better than the aliens themselves. The most disturbing aspect of human communication was not their technical capability, but their attitude toward the conflict. They did not seem angry or desperate like species fighting for survival. They sounded curious and interested, like scientists studying interesting specimens or hunters tracking challenging prey through unfamiliar territory. Admiral Kesra attempted one final gambit by splitting her remaining ships into smaller groups that could escape in different directions. But human forces had anticipated this strategy and positioned pursuit ships to intercept every possible escape route. The humans had been thinking several moves ahead throughout the entire conflict, demonstrating strategic planning that went far beyond anything coalition intelligence had predicted. Dr. Maya compiled her final research report as coalition ships continued to fall to human attacks. Her analysis painted a picture of humanity that would terrify every civilized species in the galaxy. Humans were not just dangerous because of their technology or their willingness to fight. They were dangerous because they represented a completely different evolutionary path that had produced intelligence without domestication. Every other known sapient species had developed civilization by learning to cooperate and suppress their violent instincts. But humans had developed civilization while remaining violent, which meant they could think and plan and build advanced technology while retaining all the predatory instincts that made them the dominant species on their world. Commander Zara received reports that human ships were establishing permanent outposts at the edge of the solar system and beginning construction of what appeared to be military bases. The humans were not content to simply defend their territory. They were expanding it and preparing for larger conflicts. Earth was becoming the center of a growing sphere of human-controlled space. The final battle occurred near the orbit of Neptune when Admiral Eve Morrison decided to end the pursuit. The human admiral had been carefully managing the retreat to ensure that some coalition ships survived to carry word back to their home systems. She wanted the galaxy to know exactly what had happened in the Sol system. Captain Luna transmitted the coalition's surrender request and received a response that would haunt her for the rest of her life. The human admiral politely declined to accept surrender and informed the surviving aliens that they were free to leave human space. The message was delivered with the same tone someone might use to release captured animals back into the wild. Admiral Kesara realized that the humans had never intended to destroy the entire coalition fleet. They had been running a carefully controlled hunt designed to test human capabilities against alien technology while sending a message to the galaxy. The invasion had been turned into a demonstration of human military power that would spread throughout known space. As the last coalition ships escaped toward interstellar space, they carried with them the knowledge that humanity represented something new and terrifying in the galaxy. The species that had seemed primitive and divided was actually a civilization of apex predators that had learned to build starships while retaining all the instincts that made them perfect killers. Dr. Maya transmitted her final report to Coalition headquarters with a warning that would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about the relationship between intelligence and violence among the stars. Humanity was not just another species to be conquered or ignored. They were the emergence of something that had never existed before in galactic history. Commander Zara Velthara stood alone on the bridge of her damaged flagship as it limped through the darkness between stars, carrying the remnants of what had once been the mightiest invasion fleet in Coalition history. Only 12 ships remained from the force that had entered human space with such confidence just weeks before. Her pointed ears trembled as she composed the message that would warn the galaxy about what they had discovered. The Elven commander's 400 years of military experience felt meaningless now as she struggled to find words that could adequately describe what humanity represented. The species that had seemed so primitive and divided had revealed themselves to be something unprecedented in galactic civilization. They were apex predators that had learned to think strategically about warfare while retaining all the instincts that made them perfect killers. Admiral Eve Morrison watched the surviving Coalition ships escape from her position aboard the human flagship Constitution and felt satisfied with the results of their first interstellar conflict. Eve had commanded Earth's space forces for 15 years. While preparing for exactly this scenario, the aliens had provided an excellent opportunity to test human weapons and tactics against advanced technology. The human admiral had carefully managed the entire conflict to ensure that some alien survivors would escape to carry word back to their civilizations. Earth wanted the galaxy to know that humanity existed and that any species attempting conquest would face the same fate as the Coalition invasion force. The message would spread much faster than human ships could travel to deliver it personally. Captain Luna Brightwood prepared the final transmission that would be sent to Coalition headquarters and to every major civilization in the galaxy. Luna's silver hair had turned white during the weeks of running battle, and her blue eyes showed the haunted expression of someone who had witnessed the collapse of everything she believed about the universe. The message she was composing would change galactic politics forever. Communications Officer Tara Bell received multiple surrender attempts from the fleeing alien ships, but ignored them on Admiral Morrison's orders. Tara understood that the humans were not interested in capturing prisoners or negotiating peace terms. They wanted the survivors to escape and tell other species what happened when humanity was threatened. The human response to Coalition surrender attempts was delivered with polite efficiency. Earth's government formally declined to accept alien surrender and informed the survivors that they were free to leave human space immediately. The message carried an implicit warning that humanity considered the entire Sol system to be their territory and would defend it against any future intrusion. Dr. Maya Quintel transmitted her final xenobiological assessment to Coalition Scientific Networks as her research vessel fled toward home space. The insectoid scientist's report would revolutionize everything the galaxy thought it knew about the relationship between intelligence and aggression among sapient species. Humanity represented a completely new category of civilization that had never been encountered before. Maya's research revealed that humans had not evolved as prey animals like every other known sapient species in the galaxy. They were persistents, hunters that had developed intelligence while remaining apex predators on their world. This meant they thought about problems in fundamentally different ways than civilized species that had learned to suppress their violent instincts in order to cooperate. The implications of this discovery were terrifying for every existing civilization. Humans could think and plan and build advanced technology while retaining all the predatory instincts that made them naturally superior at warfare. They were not violent despite being intelligent. They were violent because they were intelligent, and they used their intelligence to become better predators. Captain Luna began recording the final message that would be transmitted to every major power in the galaxy. Her voice carried the weight of someone who had witnessed the emergence of a new type of civilization that would change the balance of power among the stars. The message was simple, but would echo throughout known space for generations. This is Captain Luna Brightwood of the Coalition Expeditionary Force transmitting final contact report regarding the species known as humans. Our invasion of their system has failed catastrophically. Do not engage the humans under any circumstances. They are not what we believed them to be. Luna paused in her recording as she watched human ships escort the Coalition survivors to the edge of their territory. The human vessels maintained perfect formation while demonstrating the casual efficiency of predators who were completely confident in their ability to destroy any threat. The aliens were being released like prey animals that had provided interesting sport, but were no longer worth hunting. Humanity represents a form of intelligence that has never been encountered in galactic history. They are apex predators who learned to build starships while retaining all the instincts that made them the dominant species on their world. Their first war against us was brief because they did not need long to demonstrate their superiority. Admiral Kessera Thival added her own assessment to the transmission from her position aboard the Coalition command ship. The reptilian admiral's voice showed the strain of commanding a military disaster that had shattered every assumption about primitive civilizations and advanced technology. Her people had conquered dozens of worlds using superior firepower and formal tactics, but none of that experience had prepared them for fighting humans. Human military doctrine appears to be based on persistence hunting strategies adapted for interstellar warfare. They do not seek quick victory or negotiated settlement. They pursue their enemies with relentless efficiency until complete victory is achieved. Any species that encounters them should avoid contact and retreat immediately. Dr. Maya added her scientific analysis to the growing message that would serve as humanity's introduction to galactic civilization. Her research had revealed that humans represented something that theoretical xenobiology had considered impossible: intelligent predators that had developed technology without losing their predatory nature. Xenobiological analysis confirms that humans evolved as pursuit predators on a world with extraordinary biodiversity. They developed intelligence while competing against thousands of other dangerous species, which produced a form of sapience that combines advanced reasoning with instinctive aggression. They are not civilized in any sense that other species would recognize. The final warning was transmitted as the Coalition ships crossed into interstellar space and left the Sol system behind. The message would be received by communication networks throughout the galaxy within days, while physical travel to human space would take years for most civilizations. Humanity's reputation would precede them to the stars. To any species receiving this transmission, humanity has emerged as a spacefaring civilization and represents an unprecedented threat to galactic stability. They possess advanced military technology specifically designed to counter more sophisticated defensive systems. Their tactical thinking is based on predatory instincts that make them naturally superior at warfare. Captain Luna concluded the transmission with words that would be remembered throughout galactic history. Our recommendation to all civilized species is simple: run. Run as fast as your ships can carry you and pray they do not decide to follow. Humanity is not interested in conquest or negotiation. They are interested in hunting, and they view the galaxy as their new hunting ground. Admiral Eve Morrison received a copy of the Coalition transmission and smiled as she read their assessment of human capabilities. Earth's first contact with galactic civilization had proceeded exactly as planned. The invasion had been turned into a demonstration of human military power that would establish Earth's reputation throughout known space. As the last Coalition ships disappeared into the darkness between stars, Admiral Morrison began planning humanity's next moves. The galaxy now knew that Earth existed and that humans were not to be underestimated. It was time to begin humanity's expansion to the stars, carrying with them all the instincts and intelligence that had made them the apex predators of their world. Commander Zara Velthara looked back one final time toward the Sol system as it disappeared from view and wondered what would happen when humanity decided to leave their home system and spread throughout the galaxy. The species that had destroyed the Coalition invasion force with such casual efficiency would inevitably encounter other civilizations, and Zara doubted that any of them would be prepared for what was coming. The message warning the galaxy about humanity would travel faster than any ship, but Zara suspected it would not be enough to save the civilizations that would eventually encounter Earth's expanding sphere of influence. Humanity was patient, intelligent, and utterly relentless in pursuing their goals. They were the emergence of something new and terrifying among the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same.